Undivided attention, please.
Where did we come from, and how did we happen? These are the age-old questions that have gnawed at man since the beginning. At one point, humans attributed everything to the supernatural, but with modern-day sciences, we can decipher the explainable from the unexplained. However, we still have things in this world that we can't explain. And the question is, does this fall under the realm of science, or is there perhaps more that we can't see that influence the physical world? The problem I will address today is the Supreme Court decision to rule the teaching of intelligent design is unconstitutional. It was in the case of Kitzmiller versus Dover School District in 2007. My solution would be to prove that intelligent design is a legitimate theory and should be allowed to be taught alongside evolution. And one of the main ways to do this is to prove the flaws of evolution itself, which I will get to later. The two main theories are evolution and intelligent design. They're basically the main theories when it comes to explaining origins. Evolution is basically the idea of a gradual process when something changes and becomes more complex. Intelligent design is the belief that physical and biological systems are the result of purposeful design by an intelligent being rather than by chance, which is basically what evolution relies on. There are a lot of flaws to evolution. I'll just address a few. One of them is irreducible complexity. I watched a documentary online on the court case, and what irreducible complexity is basically the idea of, and this is something Darwin said himself, he said if this can be proved, then his entire theory goes out the window. And the idea is if you could find an organism that could not be reduced at all without the organism dying, basically every single part of the organism is essential, then his idea would go out the window. And it just so happens that we have found organisms that cannot be reduced. There is also the idea of random chance. I read a book called The Case for Faith by Lee Strobel. He said if you took all the carbon in the universe and put it on the face of the earth, allowed it to chemically react at the most rapid rate possible, and left it for 1 billion years, the odds of creating just one functional protein molecule would be 1 chance in 10 with 60 zeros after it. Which is basically, and that's just one probability of many that I found that just kind of seem impossible. And if it were any other area of science, it would be ruled impossible. But because evolution is the only thing that we're relying on, we allow it to be plausible. Another one would be using reason. In the same book, he says if there isn't a natural explanation, and there doesn't seem to be the potential of finding one, then I believe it's appropriate to look at the supernatural explanation. Perhaps an intelligent creator is more than just a religion. Maybe it is actually scientific. Flaws in the Big Bang. In the book One Nation Under Man, he said the force of gravity must be fine-tuned to allow the universe to expand at precisely the right rate, which is accurate to within 1 part in 10 to the 60th power. Basically saying if the Big Bang had exploded any bit further or any bit less than the way it exactly did, there would be no life on Earth. It had to expand at precisely the exact rate that it did so that we're all here today. There's also a flaw in the transitional fossils. In the same book, One Nation Under Man, he says, we find perfectly stable and unaltered forms preserving through long ages. Forms that have not developed themselves on the fitness principle, but appear suddenly and at once in their definitive shape. Basically saying that there is no chronological sequence to the skeletal structures from an ape to a man. You can find them scattered throughout layers of earth, and carbon dating puts them all over the map. So really there's chances that these could have coexisted, or that more complex beings could have come before. So really there is no chronological sequence in the transitional fossils. Now there are some flaws in intelligent design. There's not as many, but they are really big ones, which is why it is so frowned upon. One of them is the proof of a creator. You can't prove that there is such thing as a creator. But also the counter argument is you can't prove that there isn't a creator either. Another argument would be the source of the creator. Those against evolution like to use the argument that you can only go back so far, but even the Big Bang must have been caused by something, or something must have created what the Big Bang came from. But there has to be some sort of beginning, but you can also use that to say, well, then something must have had to create a creator, or something must have had a beginning there. But to start arguing the physics of time itself starts to get more into theology than it does actually science. What should be done about it is to really decide what you think a religion really is. Is it really a set of beliefs, or is a religion actually believing in supernatural forces? Because according to the Lemon test, which they use to decipher whether something is advocating for religion or not, and which they use in this court case, it says, a statute must have a secular legislative purpose, and its primary effect must be one that neither advances nor inhibits religion. But based on what you think a religion is, there are documented cases where the government has said secular humanism is a religion, yet it seems to be the only religion that the government is actually promoting or advocating for, because they think it's neutral, because it doesn't claim that there are supernatural forces or a God. But really, the only way to remain neutral and unbiased is to be inclusive rather than exclusive, which is what the government has been doing. There's also the problem that people think that evolution and intelligent design are actually opposites and can't both exist, but they actually can. If you believe a creator actually initiated evolution or guided evolution, then the probabilities go way down because it's caused. I mean, the chances of a chair moving by itself are really, really high, but if I cause the chair to move, the probability goes down a lot. Basically what we would need to do is challenge it in the court systems again. You would need to do it on a local level in a public school. It may seem that 2007 wasn't that long ago, but almost 3 years is a big time for science advancements, and there can be more and more arguments that can be made and more scientific discoveries that we can use. In conclusion, I'd like to clarify that I'm not advocating that intelligent design has all the answers and should be the only thing taught. But I think that evolution is flawed enough to have some sort of challenge when it's being taught in the school systems. If we could have intelligent design presented as a science and not a religion, we could take the first step in explaining the unexplainable, which was the main problem in the court cases before it. They did not argue any of the scientific validity of intelligent design, they just thought that it advocated for religion, which is why it was thrown out in the first place.